One evening, in the mountains of Jacksonville, members of the Jacksonville garrison gathered to recreate a small section of the Anglo-Zulu War. Sarah, a Zulu player, recounts the battle.
The Anglo-Zulu War took place in 1879 because of policies enacted by the High Commissioner to South Africa, who was seeking to consolidate power in the area. After an untenable ultimatum was rejected by the Zulu king, Lieutenant General Lord Chelmsford was sent into Zululand with 4,700 men to capture the Zulu king Cetshwayo. Chelmsford's plan called for 3 columns of troops heading towards the Zulu capital of Ulundi through different routes. 2 of the columns ended up using the same route, which led them to the mountain that is the setting for one of the most iconic battles in the Victorian era, Isandlwana. Our game takes place on the road to Ulundi. The British have made steady progress after the disaster of Isandlwana, and a detachment is on picket duty when a Zulu patrol spots them and attempts to take some of their supplies. The game was played using an upcoming set of rules called Blood and Steel, which will be part of the Firelock Games series of historical miniatures games. The rules are based on the blood and plunder mechanics and are set during the reign of Queen Victoria. When published in 2022, they will include lists for conflicts throughout this period, from the Second Seminole to the Spanish-American War. The game calls for 3 objectives to be placed along the table's midline. In this game, the objectives were the barrels located outside the building, the cattle in the middle, and the supply cart within the tall grass. Playing on the British side are Mike and Edgar. Their force has a lieutenant with a bugler, a unit of Natal natives, mounted carabiners, 2 units of soldiers, and a unit of sailors as support. The Zulu players are Sarah and Jim. They have an Inunda leader, a unit of unmarried Zulus, married Zulus, a small unit of the King's Guard, another unit of unmarried Zulus, and support from rifle-armed Zulus. Jim issues his customary challenge.
So, imperialistic dogs, do you want to give up now or make us play?
The Zulus receive their mission with swagger. They drew the forage mission, which calls for them to gather an objective and take it to their table edge. The British drew the defend mission, which rewards them for protecting the middle objective.
They say we defend the house and the cattle.
Right. Well, actually, the card calls for us to defend the cattle.
Right.
I think it has to be the center one, so we
get extra for the center. So, but the house is a defensible position.
Okay. Yep. So put some units there, and then the cavalry someplace where they can use their extra movement.
Cavalry should probably swing that way.
Yep. I agree. Okay. We'll set up probably up to here, and then try to take that.
Sounds good, sir.
Let's defend.
We have the forage mission, which means we need to seize these 3 objectives and bring them back to our table edge.
The game begins with the initiative roll.
Oh, she's rolling. That's not fair.
Both sides selected one of the dice in their initiative pool to bid for unit activation, with the highest bidder activating a unit first. And the first activation went to the Zulu. All through the first turn of the game, both sides move forward to get to favorable positions. Here, the unit of rifle-armed warriors moved to a small rise and used their second action to fire on the British near the building.
So they're going to need 10s to hit.
that
And
all?
how many are in the unit?
5.
So you're going to roll 5 dice looking for 10s.
10!
You got 1 hit.
Edgar rolled to save the hit and failed with a 1 for the game's first casualty. He then made a resolve test with 2 dice. The British resolve value is 6+, and he made 1 and failed 1. The unit of redcoats took a point of fatigue.
Go Zulus!
Sarah and Jim played the Zulus aggressively and kept the units moving towards the objectives. The larger units of warriors were effective in getting to contact with the enemy. The British also acted aggressively to contest the objectives. Here, the Natal Carabiners dismounted to fire better, but kept a horse holder in case they needed to remount later. At the end of turn 1, the British center was staying back a bit, while the flanks put fire on the side objectives. The Zulus kept a steady line advancing towards all the objectives at once, and making it tough for the British to figure out what they were up to. In the second turn, the Zulus rolled more 1s than 10s for their initiative pool, causing a calamity. They were given the option to bite the bullet and re-roll.
Do the Zulus want to use a bullet to re-roll their initiative roll?
No, we will take the calamity since it's only turn 2. In true Zulu fashion, the unit of married warriors charges the Natal Carabiners guarding the objective on the Zulu right. The British only save half of the hits inflicted, leaving the horse holder by himself, and with a high level of fatigue, he gallops off the table. As the game goes on, the Zulu players are beginning to sense momentum on their side. They carefully study the tactical situation and agree on the next steps. The Zulus manage to take the objective on their left with a unit of unmarried warriors and contest the central objective, while on the British left, the Natal natives have plugged the gap, keeping the Zulus from that objective. With a crucial roll, the Zulu players managed to rally the unit of unmarried warriors that were then able to take the objective. However, casualties are mounting and their force is nearing withdrawal. By the end of turn 5, the combination of casualties and British successful defense of the central objective caused a force resolve roll. Sarah rolled 1d10, needing a 5 or better, and among the multiple amulet cubes she rolled a 1. The Zulus have had enough. Victory for the British.
On this day, in this field of battle, the British succeeded, the war chants and the singing of the Zulus fading like the remnants of the day. Thank you for joining us in this small corner of the Zulu Wars.